Now, task 4 you can't do until you've done your notes on rock strata, okay? Very important that you have the notes on rock strata and that you've completed some activities practicing how to do that, because you need to know how to tell the order in which rocks were laid down so that you can tell the story in order, and look for any signs of changes that may have occurred as those rocks were laid down, so that you can see evidence of any type of weathering occurrences or volcanic activity that might be hidden in the layers of rock. So check and make sure you have your rock notes open so that you can use them when completing this activity. You have to go through and you're going to put in a picture of the Glasshouse Mountains, like the one I've given you but without all the links, and you're going to be ordering those rocks from oldest to youngest so that you can actually show me which ones you think came first and which ones you think came after that. You're also going to be telling me about any type of erosion or weathering processes that you think might have happened in order to put those layers down. So when you think about it, mudstone comes from mud. How did mud get there? You're going to have to think about that and put that down. So in the end, what you're going to have is an annotated diagram. I'm going to show you an example, but not one that is of the Glasshouse Mountains. So here I've got a partially filled in diagram of one of the practices you did with your rock strata notes. I've already tried to number what I think was the oldest to the youngest. It may or may not be correct. And I've already put in some notes here saying that as this rock has pushed through here, I would normally think that these guys would have been pushed up a little bit. I don't entirely agree with the diagram. I've put in notes about how this magma turned lava when it gets to the top must have come before this shale here, because it's spread out on the limestone once it's got to this point, which means there was nothing there to contain it and keep pushing it up in a tube. It must have come first. I've talked about how if there is limestone here, limestone is deposits of chemicals from dissolved shells and often found, well, is found in the ocean, at the bottom of the ocean. So this area must have been covered by an ocean of water to deposit all that limestone. I've also talked about how shale comes from mud, therefore the area must have been covered by some sort of water that pushed mud over the land as well after the igneous rock. I've also talked about how this limestone here, how we have this, well, I should say metamorphic rock there. Not writing very well right now. How there's metamorphic rock here, and so that means it's cooked the limestone around it. So I would expect that there to be marble, because limestone, when it is cooked, it turns into marble. So these are the sorts of things. This is not the end all of what I want your notes to be. There's a lot more other layers there I can talk about, but that's the sort of annotations that I want you to be making. So to get you started, you need to go in an order. First of all, number your layers from the oldest to the youngest as best you can. Then for each layer, I want you to list or annotate what they were made from, and then put some notes on what must have happened to make them. So this example here, number 2, here's an example here, limestone. There's an example of number 2. Only comes when you have water covering it and you have, deposit of dissolved shell organisms being laid down. So I've made some notes about where limestone comes from. Okay, what makes it? Okay, I've also got an example here of the mud making shale. That's another example of number 2. So make those notes. Last but not least, if you see any metamorphic rocks being formed or any intrusions by magma pushing through, then you need to talk to me about what would be alongside those intrusions, because it would have cooked the rock around it, and made notes on that. That's the sort of detail you need to go into for a full A in this for your understanding. It doesn't seem big, but it actually is when you think about it. I want you to put your annotated diagram here. Okay, if you can link or make interlinks between things that you did in task 3 and 4, make notes on that. Okay, you can talk about sedimentary rocks, you can talk about the igneous rocks and what happens, all of that sort of stuff. Last but not least, you need to put all of that learning into a sequence and either write it here, or you can do, you can either write it out in your own words, you can do a video where you explain it to me on a video and give me the link here. You can do any type of recording that shows me that you understand the stories that are hidden in the rock. Last but not least, give yourself a bit of a mark here using the self-assessment videos. See how well you think you did and justify it.